After years of silence, hidden pain, and public speculation, the daughter of gospel legend Yolanda Adams has finally spoken out, and what she revealed has left fans stunned. At 63, Yolanda's carefully guarded image may never be the same again. This isn't just a family story, it's a truth bomb the gospel world never saw coming. For decades, Yolanda Adams has been celebrated as the First Lady of modern gospel, known for her powerful vocals, graceful presence, and unshakable faith. She sold millions of records, won multiple Grammy Awards, and even earned her place in the Gospel Music Hall of Fame. But while her voice has inspired generations, there's been one voice missing from the spotlight: her daughter's. For years, fans have only seen Yolanda's world through tightly controlled media interviews and polished stage appearances. The public never questioned it. After all, what could be wrong in the life of such a powerful, God-fearing woman? But now, at long last, Yolanda Adams's daughter has broken her silence, and what she revealed wasn't a gospel melody or a family fairy tale, but something raw, real, and heartbreakingly unexpected. From family tension and emotional distance to hidden struggles behind Yolanda's perfect image, the truth coming out now has fans asking, was it all just a performance? In this video, we're diving deep into the life Yolanda Adams portrayed versus what her daughter experienced, why she stayed silent for so long, and why she's speaking now, the private pain behind the public praise. And the larger conversation this opens up about celebrity parents, gospel culture, and the cost of silence in Christian households. You won't believe what's been hidden for so long, and the message her daughter is now sending to the world. So stay tuned, because this is the side of Yolanda Adams the media never wanted you to see, and it's finally coming to light. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment below, because this is a conversation we all need to have. To millions of gospel music lovers around the world, Yolanda Adams is untouchable, a beacon of elegance, grace, and spiritual strength. From her chart-topping albums like Mountain High, Valley Low, to her unforgettable renditions of The Battle is the Lord's and Open My Heart, Yolanda carved a space for herself in gospel history. She wasn't just singing, she was ministering, healing, commanding the stage like a warrior wrapped in light. Her image was everything the gospel world craved. A single mother who rose above hardship, a devout Christian woman who never strayed into controversy, a flawless figure who always carried herself with poise and dignity. She became a role model, not just to aspiring singers, but to Black women across generations who saw her as proof that faith and fame could coexist without corruption. But, as we now know, every spotlight casts a shadow. While Yolanda was traveling the world, standing on award show stages, and being praised by presidents and pastors alike, her only daughter remained noticeably silent. Very few interviews, no social media presence tied directly to her mother, no gospel features, no magazine spreads, no red carpet mother-daughter moments. At first, fans assumed it was by choice. Perhaps her daughter simply wanted a private life. But as time passed, whispers began to grow. Some speculated about a strained relationship. Others pointed to moments where Yolanda would thank everyone but her daughter during award speeches. The disconnect was subtle but present, and it never sat quite right with her most loyal followers. What we now know is that the distance was very real, and it ran deeper than anyone imagined. In her recent statement, Yolanda's daughter did not speak with malice. In fact, her words were measured, thoughtful, even spiritual in tone. But what she revealed was a portrait of loneliness, emotional distance, and silent pain. According to her, growing up under Yolanda's fame was like living in a glass house with no door to step outside. Everything looked perfect to the world, but inside there was an ache for connection, for presence, for a kind of maternal love that couldn't be replaced with success or Sunday sermons. She described watching her mother pour into strangers, fans, church congregations, TV audiences, while she, as a daughter, often felt unseen and emotionally abandoned. And perhaps most heartbreaking of all, she admitted, the world got the best of her. I got what was left over. It's a powerful confession, one that exposes the very real gap between public admiration and private sacrifice. But this is just the beginning, because what Yolanda's daughter revealed next goes far beyond emotional absence. It speaks to patterns of silence, spiritual guilt, and the unspoken rules in gospel families that often keep children from expressing their truth. When someone grows up in the shadow of a public figure, especially one as revered as Yolanda Adams, there's often a silent contract. A contract that says, don't embarrass the family, don't challenge the brand, don't break the illusion. For Yolanda's daughter, that contract was never written in ink, but it was etched into every church pew, every backstage prayer circle, every whispered conversation about what it means to be raised right. She was taught to be respectful, to be grateful, and most of all, to be quiet. She was, in her own words, the daughter of the anointed. And that came with a price. In her statement, she shared that from childhood, there was an unspoken rule. What happens at home stays at home. She recalled moments where she wanted to cry, to shout, to ask why her mother missed another recital, another birthday, another evening prayer, only to be met with dismissive affirmations like, God has called me to greater things. You'll understand when you're older. This is for both of us, baby. But as she grew, that silence became a cage, not just because of her mother's fame, but because of the culture surrounding it. The Black church culture, the gospel industry, the pressure to cover your parent, even when you're hurting. If I spoke out, I wasn't just criticizing my mother. I was going against God, or at least that's what they made me feel. Can you imagine carrying that kind of burden as a child? Yolanda's daughter explained that she felt emotionally exiled in her own home. Her questions were often met with scripture. Her emotional needs were often dismissed as growing pains. And when she did try to speak to others, pastors, mentors, even friends, they would shut her down. They said things like, do you know how blessed you are to have a mother like Yolanda? Or be careful what you say about a woman of God. Slowly, she learned to keep everything inside. Years went by. Yolanda continued rising, TV host, radio show, fashion icon, gospel trailblazer. Meanwhile, her daughter stayed in the shadows, living with unanswered questions, suppressed identity, and growing resentment. She avoided interviews. She skipped red carpet events. She became the invisible daughter of gospel royalty. But everything changed when she turned 21. She describes that year as the year I reclaimed my voice. Through therapy, private journaling, and spiritual counsel outside of the gospel circuit, she began to unpack the trauma she'd been carrying her whole life. And what she discovered was both liberating and terrifying. She realized that silence had protected an image, but it had cost her everything else. For 2 more years, she debated coming forward, not because she wanted attention, but because she wanted freedom, and because she knew that her story might help others, especially children of celebrities, children of ministers, children who had been taught to suppress their truth in the name of honor. And so now, at age 24, she chose to speak, not to destroy, but to heal. This isn't revenge, she said. This is resurrection. Her timing is no accident either. With Yolanda recently turning 63, her daughter explained that she wanted to finally release herself from the emotional weight before it calcified into bitterness. I still love my mother, but loving her doesn't mean I have to stay quiet anymore. That line alone has become a rallying cry on social media. But if you think that's the most shocking part of her story, you're wrong. Because what came next was a bold step that shook the gospel industry at its core. When Yolanda Adams's daughter finally stepped out of the shadows and into the light, she didn't do it for headlines. She did it for truth. And while her message was calm and respectful, the revelations she delivered were nothing short of shattering. In her statement, shared through a private podcast and later transcribed online, she outlined 3 major truths about what it was really like to grow up in the home of a gospel icon, and each one challenges the perfect public image fans have held onto for decades. Revelation number 1. She was there for the church, not for me. The first and most painful truth, emotional abandonment. Yolanda's daughter revealed that while her mother was physically present at times, she was emotionally unavailable most of the time. From a young age, she said she watched Yolanda pour into strangers, ministering to congregations, uplifting broken souls at concerts, counseling fans through the radio and media. But at home, she felt invisible. People used to say I was lucky to have her. But I was also lonely. She recalled moments of crying herself to sleep after her mother left for back-to-back tours. Birthday dinners cut short by urgent interviews, school recitals attended by assistants or managers instead of her mother. But more than her absence, it was her emotional distance that hurt the most. She was my mother, but she treated me like I was one of her fans. That line alone has gone viral, shared thousands of times across platforms, because it exposed a pattern many children of public figures recognize, being loved publicly but neglected privately. Revelation number 2. Everything had to look holy even when it wasn't. The second bombshell centered around the performance of perfection. Yolanda Adams built her brand on being the voice of spiritual strength. But according to her daughter, that pressure extended far beyond the stage and into every corner of their personal life. Her daughter described a home where image was everything, where she had to wear certain clothes, speak in proper Christian tone, and act like she had no struggles. Even when she was dealing with depression in her teenage years, she said her mother refused to allow therapy at first, saying, "We'll pray about it." Her daughter said she was often reminded, "We don't let the enemy win." What would people say if they found out you were struggling? You're too blessed to be this sad. These statements, though spiritual on the surface, became tools of silence. She wasn't allowed to be vulnerable, to be messy, to be real. My pain didn't fit the brand, so it got buried. She also revealed that Yolanda would carefully stage moments for social media and church media outlets, posing with her daughter for Mother's Day tributes that, according to her, didn't reflect reality. She said they sometimes didn't speak for weeks, yet were expected to smile for the saints. It's a disturbing glimpse into how spiritual branding can suffocate personal truth. Revelation number 3. I was never enough unless I was perfect. Perhaps the most gut-wrenching of all was the third revelation, the pressure to be flawless. As the only daughter of a gospel legend, she said she felt immense pressure to represent her mother's legacy. She was told, "Don't post that. Take that picture down. That outfit isn't Christ-like. You're not just my daughter, you're my ministry." Over time, she internalized that message, that she wasn't worthy of love unless she was perfectly behaved, perfectly presentable, perfectly saved. I never felt loved as I was. I only felt accepted when I mirrored her. She revealed that she struggled silently with body image, anxiety, and self-worth, even while being praised by others as blessed to be Yolanda's daughter. The most heartbreaking moment came when she shared, "For years I didn't know who I was outside of her, and when I tried to find myself, it felt like betrayal." That deep identity struggle, the feeling of being erased by someone else's greatness, is something that resonates deeply with children of famous parents. These 3 revelations, emotional abandonment, spiritual image control, and conditional love, have opened a conversation far beyond just one family. Because this isn't just about Yolanda Adams anymore. It's about what happens when the church, the culture, and the fame force people, especially women, to sacrifice their truth in the name of appearance. But wait, there's more. Because in the next section, Yolanda's daughter didn't just share her pain, she issued a call for change. And the way she framed it might be the most mature and powerful part of her journey. After nearly a lifetime of silence, emotional pressure, and spiritual struggle, Yolanda Adams's daughter didn't choose to lash out with bitterness. She didn't speak with anger or malice, she spoke with purpose. And perhaps that's what makes her words all the more powerful. Because in the midst of exposing personal pain and family fractures, her final message wasn't about blame, it was about healing. I'm not here to destroy my mother's legacy, I'm here to reclaim my own. That single sentence has become a beacon for others, especially those who've grown up under the weight of famous, religious, or emotionally distant parents. She went on to say that she still loves Yolanda. Despite the neglect, despite the distance, despite the expectations that buried her voice for so long, she isn't trying to cancel her mother. She's trying to create space for both of them to exist, truthfully. A daughter's grace. Yolanda Adams' daughter expressed a level of maturity and grace that stunned listeners. In her own words, "I honor what she's done for gospel music, but I can't keep sacrificing myself at the altar of her image." That distinction between honoring someone's work and acknowledging the pain they caused is something we rarely see in celebrity exposés. She never denied her mother's impact. She never disrespected her spiritual gifts. But she made it clear that those things do not cancel out emotional damage. She called for compassion not just for herself, but for others who have been raised in similar dynamics, where a parent's public platform becomes a child's private prison. Her message touched on a theme rarely discussed in gospel circles. Being raised in the church does not mean being raised in emotional safety. And that one sentence, so raw, so bold, sparked a flood of responses from people around the world. Young adults, grown children of pastors, ministers, Christian musicians, and gospel influencers began sharing their own stories of silence, guilt, and emotional exile. A new kind of ministry. One of the most moving moments came near the end of her message when she shared that she's now studying psychology and spiritual counseling. Her goal? To help other children of public Christian figures navigate the emotional weight they often carry alone. "I still believe in faith, but I believe it should set us free, not silence us." That statement turned her pain into purpose. Rather than rejecting her spiritual roots entirely, she's choosing to redefine what it means to be a woman of faith. Not by mimicking her mother's career, but by learning to speak from her own truth, her own trauma, and her own healing. Her journey has inspired a growing online community using hashtags like Healing in Faith, Church Kids Speak Gospel Truth, My Voice Matters. These aren't attacks, these are outcries for wholeness. A wake-up call for gospel culture. The response to Yolanda Adams' daughter's story has sent shockwaves through the gospel community, not just because it involves a legendary figure, but because it exposes a deep flaw in how the church often handles family and fame. Many are now questioning, why do we protect spiritual leaders from accountability in their homes? Why is emotional neglect excused if a parent is doing God's work? How many children of pastors and gospel artists are suffering in silence right now? Fans, gospel musicians, youth ministers, and even mental health professionals have begun speaking up, saying this moment could spark a movement for healing and emotional justice within the gospel industry. Yolanda Adams herself has not yet responded publicly to her daughter's statement. Some say she's processing, others believe she's preparing her own response. But one thing is certain. The silence can no longer go unchecked. And now, as the world listens, as gospel culture faces a painful mirror, and as a daughter steps boldly into her truth, the question becomes, will Yolanda Adams answer the call for healing? Or will she, like so many before her, protect the brand at the cost of reconciliation?